Tutoring training, guidelines, do's, do nots, and handling difficult situations. Tutoring. Please remember that tutoring is not teaching. It is a method for assisting students in reaching their educational goals set for them by their instructors. Being a good tutor takes dedication and understanding. It is not an easy job, but it is extremely rewarding. The ultimate purpose of the tutor is to make the tutoring eventually come to an end, giving the student confidence in his or her ability to master the subject. Basic tutoring guidelines. Remember that as a tutor, you are an additional resource to help students succeed. Your time and efforts are valuable. You are important. Remember that tutoring is a responsibility. Your tutee's time and efforts are valuable as well. When tutees repeatedly ask simple questions, remember that the only stupid question is the one that was not asked. Basic tutor guidelines continued. Patience, patience, patience. If you need assistance, ask another tutor, staff member, or supervisor. Hostility and harassment have no place in the tutoring environment. Create a positive learning environment. Tutors should avoid touching tutees, even as a friendly gesture. Basic tutoring guidelines continued. A tutor does not replace an instructor, nor does a tutoring session replace missed class time. Always be on time for tutoring sessions or other assignments. The student must complete his or her own work. Basic tutoring guidelines continued. Your lifestyle and values may not agree with your tutees. Be sensitive to these differences and make sure that you do not impose your lifestyle, choices, and/or values on your tutee. Embrace diversity. Respect your tutee, respect yourself, and respect your coworkers. Act professionally. Refrain from tutoring your friends, roommates, relatives, and girl or boyfriends. Tutoring do's. There are several things a tutor and one should do in order to maximize the experience for the student. The following slides provide some basic characteristics and mannerisms that a good tutor should possess. Tutoring do's continued. Punctuality. If meeting one-on-one or in a small group, the tutor should set an example by being on time. Honesty. Don't hesitate to say that you don't know about a particular concept. Trying to bluff your way through will only hurt the student and your reputation in the long run. You will lose the trust of your tutee. Tutoring do's continued. Enthusiasm. If tutors do not display a love for the subject they are tutoring, how can they expect the students to enjoy it? Come to the session with a positive attitude that will motivate students. Make sure you encourage the tutee to familiarize themselves with their class notes and textbooks. Tutors will need to familiarize themselves with policies and procedures as well as available computer software and resource manual. Tutoring do's continued. Listening. Tutors should develop good listening skills so that they will better understand students' misconceptions and errors. Willingness. To assist students, fellow staff, and supervisors in meeting our mission to create independent learners and give students the opportunity to succeed. Maintain academic standards. Model good student behavior in and out of the classroom. Tutoring do's continued. Good personal hygiene. If you smoke, you may want to use a breath mint. Avoid wearing excessive perfume. Do not drink or eat during a session. Mobility. Sit beside the tutee and place the material between you and the tutee. If in group tutoring sessions, give equal time to all students. When appropriate, move around the room. This helps the student get easier access to the tutor. Tutoring dues continued. Good questionnaires. The tutor should ask the student questions in order to evaluate a student's understanding. Encourage independence. You do not want the student to rely on you at all times. Let them know that they must put forth an effort to benefit from tutoring. Encourage students to focus on learning how to learn. Encourage students to identify several alternative study strategies from which to choose. Tutoring dues continued. Patience. This is probably one of the most important characteristics of a tutor. Never act annoyed that the student doesn't know something. Even if they ask the most basic question, always demonstrate your patience. Maintain confidentiality. Any personal information such as medical conditions, handicaps, or test scores should be between only you, the student, and the ASC coordinator if necessary. Immediately notify the coordinator of any problems or concerns you may have. At the first meeting, introduce yourself. Tutoring dues continued. Silence. Allow for periods of silence. Avoid feeling like you have to interrupt a moment of silence by talking. Allow the student to reflect on the subject at hand before going on. Consider the percentage of time you talk versus the time the student talks. Involve tutees. Let students hold the pencil or pen. Keep the assignment between you instead of taking control of it. Students should utilize their resources, textbooks, notes, handouts, and syllabi. Tutoring do nots. Sometimes a tutor can do more harm than good. It is important to follow proper procedures when tutoring students. The following slides will list some things not to do when tutoring. Do not assume the role of the instructor. You are only to help and assist students. As a tutor, you are in the position to greatly enhance a student's perception and understanding of a concept. Do not think of yourself as the dispenser of all truth and knowledge. Try to relate to your tutees as equals. Arrogance is unacceptable. Tutoring do nots continued. Do not judge someone's ability or intellect based on appearance or age. Do not discourage your tutees. Challenge them to excel rather than settle. Remember, do not give any assignments a grade, even if the student asks. Do not use the tutoring center as your personal dating service. Note, if tutees ever make you feel uncomfortable, immediately notify the supervisor. Harassment of any kind will not be tolerated. Tutoring do nots continued. Do not let one student monopolize all your time. Remember that you are trying to enable the student to become an independent thinker. This can't be done if they use you as a crutch the entire time. Do not confuse students. If there is a slight variation in method that you know has worked well with others, you may want to share it, but be cautious. Consider your methods a suggestion that the student may choose to use or reject. It may be a better idea to review their instructors or textbooks methods based on their class notes and/or class handouts. Tutoring do nots continued. Do not just sit in the chair staring out the window. This lackadaisical method discourages students from asking you questions and getting help or information about the Academic Success Center. Do not answer your cell phone during a tutoring session. Please place your cell phone on vibrate and stow it in your bag or pocket. Remember, you should always use modeling good behavior. Tutoring do nots continued. Do not work on the student assignment for them. In math, you may want to make up similar problems to work as examples and let 2Ds do the actual work. You should never do a student's homework. Watch out for students who will bring take-home exams to the session. For writing assignments, you'll want to make sure that you do not write their paper nor provide the main ideas for them. You should only be helping them generate their own ideas and helping them with the structure of the paper. How to handle difficult situations. As a tutor, you may follow all of the do's and do nots, but issues may arise. Here are some suggestions that may help you if difficult situations do occur. Handling difficult students and situations. There are some things you might consider doing to help prevent difficult tutoring situations from arising. Communicate standards of behavior and attitude. Build trust with your 2D. Use and refer to college policies. If you and your 2Ds know the policies and responsibilities, it will be easier to deal with difficult interactions. Provide students with examples of appropriate behavior by acting professionally and courteously. Always consult with the supervisor when needed, or refer students directly to the supervisor. Handling difficult situations continued. Issues and strategies. Issues. Students experiencing hopelessness or procrastination. For example, I'll never be able to do this. Or, I always wait until the last minute. Or, it's beyond me. Or, I'm stuck. Some strategies include determine what the student does know. Through questions and discussions, show the student that he or she is not an empty vessel, but always partially filled. Start by using simple units, then build to more complex ones. Offer continual positive reinforcement of successfully completed steps. Use a variety of approaches, examples, diagrams, analogies, computer software. Handling difficult situations continued. Issues and strategies. Issues. Confused students. I'm not sure what this assignment is about. I don't get it. I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what the instructor wants. Strategies. Previous approaches may work. Structure and order the tutoring sessions. Provide beginning, middle, and end. Offer study tips for note-taking, listening, time management, brainstorming, and paper ideas. Suggest regular lecture or class attendance. By consulting the student's syllabus, discuss the overall class requirements. Handling difficult situations continued. Issues and strategies. Issues. Students with a high, often inappropriate level of expectation. I better get an A on this. I have to get everything perfect. Strategies. Focus repeatedly on the task at hand. Involve student continually with questions, problems, and models. Stress active participation in the learning process. Example, have students engage the text. Star major concepts. Highlight only key terms. Write marginal notes and question claims. Handling difficult situations continued. Issues and strategies. Issues. Students who resist suggestions. That's not going to work. How will that help me? Strategies. Allow students 5 minutes to ventilate frustrations. Spend time building a relationship. Be pragmatic. yet understanding. I know these requirements are difficult, but they're required, so let's make the best of it. Indicate past successes in similar situations, as opposed to being pessimistic. Avoid fueling his or her anger, etc. Example, Professor X doesn't give criteria for his grading system. That's really unfair. Handling difficult situations continued. Issues and strategies. Students who feel helpless. Will you do this for me? Will you check or read my paper? Will you do this problem? Strategies. See previous strategies listed. Allow students 5 minutes to ventilate frustration. Offer continual encouragement. Refer to policies prohibiting tutors from doing students' homework. Handling difficult situations continued. Issues and strategies. Issues. Students who are evasive. I don't have time to get this done without your help. You're really great at this. Will you finish this for me? Strategies. Play down your role and emphasize student involvement. Focus on specific tasks and continually ask questions. If evasion continues, politely and non-threateningly ask the student what they expect from the session. Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenarios. Scenario. The student is forced to be there. They are required to come to the ASC for tutoring or makeup time. What to do? Emphasize about being forced to do something. Try to show the student that you have been in situations where you are required to be there, but you made the best of the time. Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenario. Scenario. This subject is not important to this student. They do not see how the subject relates to their career or how they will ever use the topics. What to do? Acknowledge the lack of interest in the subject area and try for a small success. Changing their attitude is unlikely, but try to demonstrate when they may use the material. Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenarios. Scenario. The student may be anxious about revealing ignorance, and she may be nervous about being critiqued. May be apprehensive. What to do? Help the student talk about his or her fears. Establish an atmosphere of trust. Be friendly and listen. Be reassuring that the fears are not uncommon. Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenarios. Scenario. The student is overwhelmed by other concerns, maybe bringing other problems with them to the tutoring session. What to do? Reschedule for a better time or listen and move on. It is not a good idea to be a counselor. You can recommend them to the counseling center and try to reschedule at a better time. Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenarios. Scenario. The student doesn't have the language to talk about his or her problems. They do not know how to explain what they need to work on. What to do? Offer the student some questions he or she can ask herself or himself. Where is the problem you are having difficulty? Do you lack previous information? Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenario. Scenario. The student is simply a very quiet person. Introverts tend to be shy and reflect quietly. What to do? Give the student some quiet time to think and work. Ask them if they prefer to work some problems by him or herself. Allow time for quiet reflection. Handling difficult situations continued. Difficult scenarios. Scenario. The student knows that if he or she shuts up, the tutor will do all the work. The student is waiting for the tutor to tell them what to do. What to do. Try minimalist tutoring. Try to ask questions that involve the student. Show students where to find the information. How to handle difficult situations. Please keep in mind that sometimes mismatches will occur between a tutor and tutee. If you have done all that you can do and you still feel it is an uncomfortable working environment, please let the tutoring coordinator know. Also, please remember to come and speak with the tutor coordinator if you are having trouble with any problems with the program. We are open to any suggestions for improvement. Tough session practice. Let's look over some possible scenarios that may arise during a tutoring session. How would you respond? Tough session practice. Question. My assignment is due tomorrow. Will you help me do these problems? Answer. Let's take a look at the type of problem you have. We'll work on something similar so that you'll be able to do the assignment. Tough session practices continued. Remember, it is not your job to do students' homework assignments. If you do, the student will not learn how to do the work on their own. Waiting until the last minute to do assignments may also be a sign of poor time management skills. If appropriate, suggest a time management workshop or coaching session. Tough session practices continued. Question. Come on, help me out here. I need you. I can't come during your scheduled times. Can you make an exception for me? Answer. I know how tough it is. With my classes and work, I rarely have my spare time either. Have you considered forming a study group with others in your class? Have you checked to see what your instructor's office hours are? Tough sessions practice continued. Remember, it's really hard to say no, especially to someone who considers you as their source of help. Although it is difficult, saying no will help the 2D be responsible for his or her own learning. You should not be the sole resource for your 2D. Tough sessions practice continued. This instructor is really crazy. She won't listen to me. I think she's out to get me. Answer. Sounds like you're having a bad time. I'm sorry you're finding it difficult to succeed in this class. Perhaps you could show me some of the problems you are having difficulty understanding. I may be able to help clarify them for you. We may also need to review how you are studying for this class. Tough sessions practices continued. Remember, regardless of how an instructor is performing, it will not help the student by complaining with them. The student will still have to find a way to understand the material and pass the course. Avoid talking about instructors. Students sometimes use this as an excuse for doing poorly. The more you help them find ways to learn effectively, the less dependent they will be on learning all the material through lectures and class time. Tough sessions practices continued. Question. Nothing works. I just can't get it. I study all the time. I don't know what to do. Answer. Let's take a look at some beneficial study skills. Maybe one of them would be helpful. If you want, you can take a quick test to determine your learning style. Once you know whether you learn better by seeing, or by doing, or by hearing, We'll both be able to figure out study strategies to help you. Then we'll take a look at your book. Tough sessions practices continued. Remember, sometimes the students really are studying, but in a non-beneficial manner. You can provide study skills for 2Ds that will help them learn more effectively. Role play. We will read through each of the following scenarios. As you go through each one, consider the following questions. 1. How is the tutor feeling? How do you know? Nonverbal clues. 2. How is the student feeling? How do you know? Nonverbal clues. 3. What are the tutor's expectations? 4. What are the students' expectations? And 5. What are some other ways the tutor may have handled the situation? Conclusion. Working with students can be challenging, but very rewarding. Please follow these guidelines, do's and do nots, and how to handle difficult situations. Any questions? Resources. Ryan L., 2002. The Bedford Guide for Writing Tutors, 3rd edition, from the University of Maryland, College Park. Difficult Tutoring Situations. Retrieved from Difficult Tutoring Situations PDF. Basic Tutoring Guidelines, Tutoring Do's and Do Nots, adapted from Middle Tennessee State University. Handling Different Tutorial Situations, adapted from the University of Queensland, Australia.